Enough rations for a day, enough fuel for one jump. 6 bullets. I'm currently docked at a Lux cruise ship deep in the Sargasso Nebula. My vessel's scanners indicate the ship may contain enough food to last me a few more days, fuel if I'm lucky, and enough tourists to turn me to dust. This heist is my last option. This is my only hope. This is the core selling point of Void Bastards. Dangerous heists where virtually anything can go wrong on ships swarming with mutants. I can confidently say that Void Bastards delivers on this promise. But despite this, where's the fandom? People own this game. It has a visually distinctive art style and a very interesting premise, so why doesn't it stand out in a sea of roguelikes? To answer this, we need to break down what Void Bastards even is, compare it to its contemporaries, find the discrepancies between said games, and discover an answer to the question, why did we forget Void Bastards? Void Bastards is a game about dying, and like most people, you stay dead. You are one of millions of inmates from the Void Ark, and you are expendable. Once you expire, another prisoner is rehydrated to take your place. In conjunction with this game's randomization systems, it would be appropriate to classify this game as a roguelike, or roguelite if you want to be extra technical, but it doesn't really matter. Your goal: collect parts to replace the missing bureaucratic infrastructure necessary to leave the Sargasso Nebula. The ship could technically leave, but the AI won't allow it without legal authorization.
Okay, I need to see your citizen card to authorize the restart. Oops. As a WCG penal client, your citizen card has been shredded.
It's a dumb, uninteresting story, but aside from Hades, roguelikes aren't really known for their stories, so I don't think it really turned anyone away. Anyhow, when you die, you lose all progress in the nebula and all of your supply stockpile, aside from the scraps of your client care package. But you keep all upgrades from before your character's death. You're given a new character with various quirks ranging from a lowered appetite to overly formal where you recognize gun points by the name Mr. Bang. The game can be sorted into 2 phases, the board phase and the heist phase. During the board phase, you have access to your map. Here, you manage your resources and decide upon a best course of action to maximize your chances of survival. Slay the Spire, a deck-building roguelike, has a very similar board system. Void Bastards distinguishes itself by allowing you to pass on encounters if they look too dangerous, at the risk of depriving yourself of resources. Unlike Slay the Spire, there is no boss waiting for you, just parts. As you progress, you drift deeper into the nebula, where encounters get progressively more difficult. Once you settle on a ship to board, you select your tools, some of which are more effective than others for different scenarios. With your selection, you begin the heist phase. You're given a map showing your current location, which doubles as your point of escape. Keeping your escape route in mind is important because things can always go wrong. Turning the wrong corner can cut your health to pieces, and sometimes it's wise to retreat rather than pressing on. The game encourages this kind of cautious play, allowing you to choose when to play aggressively and when to cut your losses. In contrast, most roguelikes are pretty straightforward with the simple goal of killing all enemies. That's it. Most roguelikes have pretty simple objectives to follow. In Void Bastards, the goal is up to your discretion. If you want to board a ship, take 2 fuel canisters and leave without firing a single bullet, that's valid play. However, with dwindling resources, it's rarely safe to play so passively. It's a difficult balancing act, asking the player to gamble their lives on every mission, and it's very compelling. I'll leave the explanation of heists at that, because going through all the emergent gameplay properties would be a bit exhausting and outside the scope of this video. The game features a healthy game mechanic ecosystem, and I doubt any one mechanic makes or breaks the game. Now that we're all on the same page, why didn't Void Bastards attract as much attention as its contemporaries? To start, there is no build-up or climax, just parts and collecting them. And once you move on to the next stage, you collect, you guessed it, more parts. There is no boss battle, there is no test of skill. No, you just collect parts, and once you finish the last part, cutscene, game ends. I sped that up, but that's literally it. That's it. Other games actually do feature climaxes, often in the form of boss battles. There's so much emphasis on them that the games are often named after the bosses themselves. In Hades, we fight Hades. In Nuclear Throne, we fight the Nuclear Throne. In Slay the Spire, well, look at it, dude, come on. These games are fun because reaching the end results in challenging and meaningful gameplay. Reaching the end of Void Bastards is just a punishment. The standard gameplay may be fun, but without a definitive direction, players will start to fatigue from repetition. The problem isn't that the game is repetitive, as many reviews suggest. Roguelikes are repetitive by design. No, the problem is that there's no meaningful challenge or victory awaiting you at the end. If I were back in high school and I had to turn in an example of a hero's journey for an assignment, and I turned in Void Bastards, Miss Melman would have me hung, drawn, and quartered. But the problems don't stop with lack of climax. There just isn't much tension to begin with. The consequences of failure are entirely de-emphasized. Let's compare Void Bastards to the roguelike Darkest Dungeon for a moment. Both games offer the player tense decision-making on when to retreat. In Darkest Dungeon, the consequence of losing a character is hours of progress that you've spent building them up, and you can lose 4 at a time. In Void Bastards, when you lose a character, you lose a small ammo stockpile. I think you go like maybe 4 steps back from your target objective, and that's about it. It's really not that bad. Darkest Dungeon is famed for its intensity, and Void Bastards isn't. But it doesn't stop there. In most roguelikes, when you die, you restart full stop. This leads to tension and the burning desire to try again. In Void Bastards, death is only a minor setback. It's a goddamn Chuck E. Cheese ball pit! The only reason I've come to enjoy Void Bastards is playing exclusively on Iron Man, where death actually is permanent, but that is not the default. In fact, players aren't even afforded the ability to play on Iron Man until they finish the game for the first time, and most aren't coming back after that ordeal.
Don't worry, I'm sure you can find the parts to construct one.
The developers, Blue Manchu, are releasing a successor, Wild Bastards, later this year. Don't worry, I didn't know either until I was researching this video. My prediction for the game is that if it doesn't provide meaningful climaxes or good stakes, it'll fall into the exact same obscurity as its predecessor. Blue Manchu, if you need me, call me, baby. It's okay. I love you. Goodbye.